What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Cleveland Pulse YouTube channel. I am your host, Justin Harold, and with me, as always, my co-host, Jeff Santa. Today, we are bringing you some more news about the Browns. I know, crazy offseason we've had so far. So much news to talk about. Jeff and I have just been talking Cavs with our buddy Logan over here, but we're
Yep.
back. We're here to bring you some Browns news. They have had some transactions. Interestingly enough, Mike Prefer, he's gone. See ya. Took a little while to happen, interestingly enough, probably something we should talk about. But in his absence, they have brought in Bubba Ventrone from the Indianapolis Colts. We will get into Bubba in a bit, who used to be a former Browns player. So interestingly enough. But Jeff, the news about Prefer being gone, the news about Bubba being in, how did you take it? All happened pretty quickly, honestly.
So very true. And I'm the person who comes on here and says business is business, no hard feelings. But back-to-back uploads, I think I'm going to slander Andrew Berry, which is not characteristic of us. But I think this was shady dealings, because the only logical thing I could make from this situation is that why wouldn't you get rid of Joe Woods and Mike Prefer at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think that they were just stringing Mike Prefer along in the grand scheme of things, saying, "Oh yeah, you're good, you're good." And in the background, they're talking to this guy, Bubba
Yeah.
Ventrone, and they're talking to the Colts, saying, "Hey, we're interested, we're interested." And until they knew that it was a signed, sealed, delivered acquisition,
Yep.
they weren't telling Prefer anything.
Nope.
So people say that's business. I think that's a little bit shady from our front office if that's really what happened, and I don't see how you could read how it happened any other way.
Yeah, no, like I said, it happened very quickly, and it was one of those things. Like, again, like you said, if Prefer was like fireable, why wasn't he fireable right away?
Exactly. It's not
And it
like
was
anything happened. It's not like we played any more games in between, firing Joe Woods and Prefer. The season was over.
exactly, and it wasn't like you could just elevate someone because we talked about the same thing with firing Woods. Could you
Mm-hmm.
elevate one of his staff members to being the coordinator? Probably not. They're probably just as bad, if not worse, somehow. So probably the thought process there, why it took so long for Prefer to be out the door. But he is out the door. He, just like what we talked with the last upload with John Johnson, you wish you could talk about his tenure here being a lot better. He coaches the one playoff game that we win
Yep. He'll
due
be
to
a legend.
COVID and
He'll be a
everything.
legend for that. But
Right. But unfortunately, after that, it seemed like and the special teams were very good that year too, the year that we won the playoff game and
sure.
everything. And then unfortunately, like the rest of the, next two seasons, it just kind of fell apart. And he's out the door. Bubba's in. Jeff, me and you, right before, I think right before we started talking about this, you just said, who really follows special teams and
Right.
like special teams stats. It's obviously the third aspect of the game between offense and defense, and it's the least played of all three, but still an important aspect. It can change the game. It can do things to put you in better positions, give you better field position and whatnot. So under Bubba Ventrone, I'm going to start talking about just what we have here, what the Browns published on their website for him.
Sure.
The 5 things that you need to know. We're not going to talk about the 5 things that you need to know because I read it. You don't need to know these 5 things. But number one is very important. Under Ventrone, the Colts built one of the league's best special teams units in 4 of the last 5 seasons. Uh, Rick Goslin, well-esteemed NFL writer, had the Colts ranked in the top 10 special teams units in 4 of the last 5 seasons in his annual special teams ranking. He slotted them second in 2018, 29th in 2019, fourth in 2020, second in 2021, and eighth in 2022. Weird, odd year out in 2019. But during Ventrone's 5 seasons, the Colts led the NFL in kickoff return average 24.9 and ranked fourth in punt return average 10.3, which were areas of our game, Jeff, for a long time until we put Jerome Ford back there. Was a big problem that
Mm-hmm.
we never did really well with. We constantly switched who was our kick returner, punt returner, DPJ, Anthony Schwartz, Demetric Felton. Name any wide receiver, running back who's on the out of their position, and they got a chance. But those two aspects of the game, very important to why he was brought in. What are your thoughts?
I just think that I'm always going to be nervous about special teams until I see like one really good season of it or just consistency for, a handful of games, because we've just that you see a lot of these teams in the league, they've had the same punter for, X amount of years. They've had the same kicker, even in our own division, obviously. But the Browns have had a lot of special teams, new faces and turnover. Obviously, we tried something last year in signing Jakeem Grant. He doesn't even play because of what was that, an Achilles ACL? I don't even know. Maybe he'll be on the team this year. Who knows? You draft Cade York, you move on from Jamie Gillen, you get Cody Bojorquez. Now you're moving on from Mike Prefer into Ventrone, and who knows really who's going to, return the punts. We saw some good success with DPJ last year. We saw some good success with Jerome Ford. I don't know how it's going to go. Everybody knows Cade York needs to be a little bit better than he was last year, at least. And I think the punting was probably your bright spot of last year, but we talk about it the least, but it really does make a huge difference in football games. And this, flipping the field, making sure that your defense has long fields to work with defensively, and making sure that you help your offense out. 15, 20, 25-yard returns are huge as far as getting into field goal ranges, being able to put points on the board. So if the Colts were that good underneath them, you hope it translates. Is it always going to be the case? No.
It's been interesting, Jeff, because you brought up a great point about special teams and the acquisitions that we've made to try to bolster it. I don't follow other teams as closely as I follow the Browns, but they go out and they brought JoJo Natson in the first year that they brought Kevin Stefanski and Mike Prefer in and everyone, and he gets hurt like everyone else did, and I think he got a game in or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They brought him back the next year, again gets hurt. They drafted Schwartz. They, like you said, drafted York, drafted Gillen, gave Gillen a chance. Gillen replaced a former Pro Bowler, but it just seems like there is a concerted effort from the front office and from from Kevin Stefanski that they want to make the special teams a huge aspect of what this team does well. Obviously, every team wants to do well in every aspect of the game, but it really feels like each year they go out and they address special teams specifically, in whether it be the kicker, the punter, the kick returner, the punt returner, and it's interesting to see that, so far it hasn't worked out, but they have put their best effort towards, trying to make it work. And Jeff, remind me, who is the guy before Cade York that we drafted? Do you remember? The other kicker?
Yeah, he's still in the league. He played last year. I don't remember his name.
He played, and
Zane Gonzalez.
Zane Gonzalez.
Yeah,
no, wait, was it Zane?
I don't know. There's so many of them.
There were so many of them. So.
We do put a concerted effort into this, though, and it just is so funny because every offseason we switch it up, and it's just never, really great. I mean, you have great moments. Obviously, the field goal in Carolina week 1. Like I said, I think the punting was really good all year long for the most part. Now, was Bojorquez holding the ball a part of the issue with York? Very good points to be made there, and stuff that we could explore as far as what's going to change from Prefer to Ventrone. But I mean, you never really know the whole story with special teams and defense, for that matter. Anything that the coaches needs to really do. That's why we get so excited when there's new moves, when stuff happens, because that's pretty much the vast majority of information we're ever going to get. It's not like, oh, he's going to walk in and be like, okay, Bojorquez isn't holding anymore. But who knows where we go from here? But it'll be interesting to follow.
Yeah, it'll be. I mean, that's the thing, though. Will we notice anything significantly different? Probably not. They might execute better.
Right.
They might
philosophy might change. Maybe you go all out for punt, to block a punt. I feel like we never block punts.
I don't think we ever blocked a punt in the last 3 years.
I see him weekly in the league, and it's just like, okay, we're going to take this conservative approach, and then we're still not going to get a big return. So
yeah, blocking kicks too. I don't think we did a lot of that either.
No.
I feel like it happened to us way more. It's like,
oh, for sure.
We never learned from the opponent, but hopefully Ventrone can do it. But Jeff, anything else before we move on?
I don't think so, really.
All right. Last thing to just be noted here in the 5 things that you must know. Ventrone has long been considered one of the top bright young coaching minds in the league. In June 2020, he was named to the Athletics 40 under 40 list, compiling 40 top coaches under the age of 40. Ventrone told the Athletic, "I made it as a teamer, so for me, it's an easy selling point to get those guys to buy in. I'll show a few clips here and there of myself, and when guys see that, oh well, he did it. He played with the technique. They respect that." So Bubba Ventrone gonna lead by example apparently here.
Yes, what's he gonna do? Get some reps in.
Get some reps in there. Take
No
the
helmet.
punching pad and run those guys down the line. But having the player experience does always help. Obviously Kevin Stefanski played in his college years. Andrew Berry, I believe, also played in his college years. They have that background. It's nice to have the background. It's nice to have the experience too from Bubba, who obviously was a part of Super Bowl winning teams as a coach and as a player. So big stuff there. Funny thing that you don't need to know, but his nickname is also Bubba Big Head. So that's great. I just love that. I love that was one of the 5 things I needed to know.
I love how that's like been shared like publicly. Like that's just not a locker room thing. But here's the last like Browns fan thing about the whole situation. He was also, as far as I'm aware, named like an assistant coach or like an assistant head coach. He has like 2 titles technically.
Okay.
So it's like special teams / assistant coach. So it's like, is this the guy if Stefanski gets into hot water? I don't know. But it's interesting to me that they go for more youth. Like Schwartz was kind of like, oh, Grandpa Schwartz. Like he's not that old, but like between Stefanski, Barry, and now this guy who's there. I mean, they're all Stefanski's under 40. Ventrone's under 40. Well, Stefanski might be in his 40s. I don't know. But yeah, interesting. I mean, keep the youth movement, I guess, but you need some experience.
It is funny the oddity of Schwartz in that group, but
so odd. Like, what do they talk about?
Cigarette running, going and getting the guys at the Browns facility pack of cigarettes and everything, and these guys are like, "What the heck?
Right?
What were you doing?" But yeah. But moving on. If you guys made it through this video, thank you very much. Please make sure you are liking, subscribing, hitting the bell notification, leaving a comment. What are your thoughts on Bubba? What are your thoughts on Prefer being gone? What are your thoughts on the whole situation? How fast it happened? How long it took to happen? And with that being said, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.